Indian students in the United States are struggling to land jobs and even internships this summer amid a slowdown in job growth in the world's largest economy. Many students, including those from elite Ivy League universities, have failed to get an internship offer so far, which is considered crucial to gain on-job experience before stepping into the highly competitive job market. But why is it that after investing so much time and money, Indian students find it difficult to find employment in the US, in the UK, while they're abroad? Well, as the experts point out, a major reason is that the global economic slowdown has severely hit entry-level job opportunities. What has made matters worse, many of them claim, is that an unwritten mandate of sorts from the government, at least as far as the US is concerned, ahead of the presidential election to several companies, the main message is to hire locals first. Also, high inflation, escalating cost of living, local unemployment and sponsorship problems have further added to the woes of Indian students graduating in the US this year. Modern day jobs, by the way, modern day job hunters especially, they take 5 months on an average to land a position in the US. This is what a new research by the recruitment agency Randstad US claims. But why is this? Well, to help us understand the ground reality, we have with us Saundarya Balasubramani, author and the founder of The Curious Maverick. Thank you so much, Saundarya, for joining us live from San Francisco. What do you think are some causes for Indian international students struggling to land internships and jobs abroad, especially in the US? We are well aware that one big issue with the US-based position specifically is the H-1B visa that companies need to sponsor.
I think because the job market has been bad for the last 2 years, it's been a struggle not just for Indian students, but for any student, really. But for any international student, the struggle multiplies and exemplifies because you now have to be sponsored by the employer. And being sponsored means that the employer has to be willing to go a few extra steps to hire you in terms of putting your name in the H-1B lottery, which costs them several $1,000s, or to sponsor your OPT or STEM OPT. So I feel like that's what's causing this extra hurdle that students have to pass through. And I don't think that's specific to Indian students, but any international student has to go through the same problem.
Students studying abroad, international students, even in top US colleges, NYU Stern, UC Berkeley, University of Pennsylvania, they are struggling. But do you think the global economic slowdown, the crisis within the job market has affected job opportunities for international students?
Yes, I have probably spoken to dozens of, 30, 40 students in the last year or so. And it's unanimously the same message that I've heard is that the job market has been pretty bad for them. And very few of them have been able to find an internship or a job. And many of them had an internship which got revoked later on, or a job that got rescinded later on. And so I definitely think it's had an impact. I am hearing lately that the things are starting to get better and that more jobs are opening up. At least from 3 different friends I heard this. But yeah, overall it has been pretty impactful for everyone.
But we're hearing that even students in science, tech, engineering and math, STEM fields who were previously in high demand are also facing challenges. But just picking up on what you said, you mentioned there's a positive change towards people having more access to job opportunities. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, I think the reason there was, first of all, a layoff is because during the pandemic, a lot of tech companies overhired people because they needed people immediately, perhaps, or because they were making a lot more money. And so after the pandemic ended, when they realized that there wasn't as much money coming in anymore, they had to lay off people. And I definitely think there is a cycle that's happening here, in terms of 2-3 years of a boom, and then there's 2 years of a bust, and then there's once again, things are picking up right now. And so that could be just it, but I don't know more than that.
Right. But Saundarya, the desire to pursue higher education overseas, it seems to have resonated with Indian students for a while now. But are you seeing students heading back home to India, or do you think they're still trying to make it abroad?
I definitely think that students are returning back to their home country, and that is just because there is no other choice, really. So there's a few immigration options that a student can pursue when, let's say, they graduate, they get 90 days of unemployment. Um, they can volunteer on their OPT potentially to stop that unemployment clock. But eventually, when they have to get a STEM OPT or an H-1B, they do need a verified letter from a paying employer. And so if they're unable to get that and they cross their unemployment days, there's only a few options for them. For example, they could go back to school and do another degree. Some students pursue something called a day one CPT, which, that's something that I personally wouldn't recommend just because it can be very risky for students. And besides that, there's not really many options they can pursue. So they have to return back to their home country at that point. And I've met people at least 3 people who are ready to go back to their home country in the last few weeks.
Well, thank you so much, Saundara Balasubramani, for joining us on The World 24/7 with your insight.